Nothing will destroy your relationship more than turning your girlfriend into your mother. And the scariest thing is, deep down in every man's subconscious, there is a drive to make this happen. Dr. Gabor Mate, the world-renowned physician, highlighted this as a huge problem for guys, because what we do is seek out within our partners the mothering that we feel like we missed out on growing up. And the problem is, no mother is perfect. So all of us have some degree of this where we're reaching out to fill that void that we still feel. Even him himself has said that he did this and had to work through in his relationship, that he was turning his partner into a second mother. So what I'm going to do in this video is break down how exactly does this start to form and start to corrode and corrupt into our relationships. And then, why is it so categorically destructive as soon as it forms? And then finally, what you can do to avoid this ever happening to you and your relationships. My name's Andrew Wilkinson. I am a relationship and dating coach. I went from being that lonely loser virgin to being able to date beautiful girls from all around the world. And it wasn't a quick process. I spent years doing this, but I've now developed methods to help guys be able to do that and find the girlfriend that they really want. So I've gone through this and helped guys have this problem and overcome it, because it's always rooted in the same few issues. But first, let's talk about, how does this happen? Why is this happening to us? What is going on? So first, I want you to reflect on those times that maybe you were ill, maybe you were injured, and you had someone that was able to look after you. So you were able to lie there, kind of put your feet up, maybe just watch TV, play video games, and this person was there just to look after you. How nice did that feel? How comforting was that to have someone nurturing, coming around, helping you and just looking after you? It feels quite good. And that's the problem here. It can be a really easy trap for us to start to fall into, where, ooh, this is quite cushy. I know, ooh, I could probably do this, but someone else is coming in and wanting to help me with it. And what makes this doubly a problem is the fact that both men and women are incentivized to do it. A part of a woman's internal biology is that desire to nurture and look after. So she almost feels happy to do it and wants to do it. I've spoken to my girlfriend many times and she always talks about this desire to try and mother me, and I always have to try and put up this wall to stop it. And I joke that I'm only really into being mothered if, one, I'm seriously ill, or two, I'm seriously hungover, because I know what an easy trap it is. Because picture that time when you're ill and maybe you've just started to recover, but you kind of liked that treatment you were getting, where they were able to cook all your food for you, do your laundry, keep manage of your schedule and your appointments. This thing isn't an overnight process. It bleeds in and creeps in. And I'm not saying that every single time a girl does something for you, oh, that's the signal this is happening. But it's the constellation of all these different elements that slowly start to take over. And it's especially when it's things that you know you should be doing for yourself. If she's the one that's starting to have to remind you of all of your appointments and book things in for you and cook all your food and do all these things that you know you have a responsibility to do yourself, this new dynamic is going to start to form, and she's going to start to take on that role of almost like your supervisor, your mother. And the difficulty is, men will also almost encourage the behavior, because if she does these things for you, these compassionate things, you'll start to encourage it by offering her more love and attention for it, so she'll want to do it even more. So you're basically co-conspirators in the destruction of your relationship. And we come back to this age-old problem that what we want is not necessarily what is good for us. going through this process, it's the relationship equivalent of McDonald's every night. It feels nice, it feels comfy. But if you start to do that long enough, you start to get unhealthy. You start to have an unhealthy relationship dynamic between you, and it will naturally start to form. So, why is it so bad? Why can't you just live in a life where maybe your girlfriend does manage your schedule? Maybe she does cook all your food for you. Maybe she is the one that's constantly encouraging you. You need to shave, you need to go, I booked you a haircut, you need to get a haircut. Or maybe she's chasing you up because she's concerned that maybe you've not had a job for a bit, you need to go get a job, you need to pay this bill. Well, you're a team, why can't she fill that role? Well, as soon as you set up this kind of situation where one partner is almost chasing, nagging, and creating this environment of this nagging resentfulness, as much as it felt comfy to begin with, you would eventually start to resent that person. Because what's a guy to do if suddenly every single element of his life that she's now encroached on, because that's what you did, you decided that you didn't have a boundary for who you were as a guy, and that she can happily invade that and start to pick and choose and encourage you in all these different areas of your life of what you need to do. You didn't have that boundary. Well, now she's going to nag you for everything, and she's going to be incredibly involved in every area of your life, and you're going to want to push back against that, but you'll push back against it the same way you did as a child with a mother that was encroaching too far on your individual space. Even though you invited her in, she's just tangled up in your life. So how this leads to it getting worse and worse is it sets this dynamic of carer and caree, mother and son. And this creates so many problems for you downstream in the relationship, because fundamentally it destroys any sense of chemistry you have between you, because no healthy mother wants to sleep with her son, and no healthy son wants to sleep with his mother. So any kind of chemistry you can have between you, that sexual spark, it will go. And you'll start to just feel bland with each other. This is the common problem couples have in relationships, where they allow this dynamic to form. When they speak about, oh, it just isn't the same as it used to be, there just isn't that spark anymore. And it's because they're no longer man and wife, they're no longer boyfriend, girlfriend. They lost that role to each other. They've got new roles now, which is parent and child. And that's why there's no heat, there's no attraction to it. And it's because you both allowed this to start to happen. And then what does this lead to? You have no attraction, no spice within your relationship. Well, you start to look outside of the relationship. And this is why it's the worst problem, because it causes the demise. It's the slow rot of your relationship, which then leads to you looking elsewhere and starting to do like infidelity and finding those other options to regain that sense you had of attraction between someone that doesn't just feel like they're your mother. Like, it dooms your relationship because it sets you on a train track with only one destination. And it's cheating. It's cheating, and you will never get out of that if you want to keep this dynamic, and it will just lead you to misery. So, what should we do if we don't want to have that? If we don't want to set up these new roles in our relationship? How do we go about finding a way to maintain who we are? Okay. Funnily enough, you're actually already on the journey to that process, because the first thing that you can do is start to understand the damage that's being caused. Because as I spoke to it, it's those micro little steps that you might not really perceive to be too much at the time. You get to this place, one small decision at a time, one small thing at a time, when you just constantly concede, when you could be someone that respects his own boundaries, respects himself as a guy who makes decisions and doesn't defer to her on every single decision. Like, this is the difference. It's understanding the damage that leads to. It's not the one decision, it's all of them together that gets you there. And this is certainly what It's certainly what I recognised growing up. One of the reasons I think I'm particularly sensitive to this happening is that when I grew up, I was a bit of a late bloomer, so I wasn't going out and meeting girls. I was very much staying at home, and I was baking cakes with my mum, and like I would do that over and over, and I created this dynamic with her, and it was very coddly, and it didn't allow me to grow up into the man that I knew I needed to be. And it made me realise that if you're in that position where you allow someone to coddle you, to stifle your individuality through pure compassion from them, then you will always fail at who you are meant to become, because we don't do any more than's expected of us. And if we know we can get away with the bare minimum, that someone else is going to come through and clean up after us, organise us and get us going, then why would you ever need to step up? You'll be a husk of a man of who you could be. And I realised that when I had absolutely no sense of masculine presence at the age of 21, and then realised the reason was because I was still happily in that coddled relationship, and I needed to break out of that and have some level of respect for myself. And that is the first step for you, to just understand the damage that will be caused by making these constant little decisions. And I really, really like a rule that they have in care homes. The idea is, in a care home, if you work there, you shouldn't do anything for the residents that they can't do for themselves, because once you start to tie their shoes for them and put them on, they start to lose the ability to do that. They start to lose the ability to do these basic practices, and they wither and wither until they're completely reliant on the other person. So part of the thing that you should realise in your own life are, there are certain things that you should be doing and you can do, and every time you just keep deferring them to another person, then you start to wither on your ability to do them, and you defer your responsibilities to them. The reason women refer to men as so childish is because they just defer their responsibility because they know she'll do it, and she starts to see them as their own little child. So taking care of your shit is a huge one. Not needing her to remind you to do anything, not just missing appointments and doing dumb things where you just always need her to encourage you. It's being able to stand on your own 2 feet, still being an individual that's able to contribute to this relationship is so massively important. And then a third tip that I'd give you is that being able to reaffirm your roles to each other is vital. And by that, I mean what I spoke to earlier of the fact you are boyfriend and girlfriend to each other, you're husband and wife. They are the roles, they are primary roles you want to have. But they aren't the only roles you play with each other. Like, your parents together, you're friends with each other, everyone's friends with their partner. You have all these different roles you play, but it gets messed up when the primary role of who you are to each other gets confused. So we have to learn to reinforce that. And we do that through activities such as like date night. This is why couples who don't do date night are 25% more likely to get divorced. And it's because they don't have that opportunity to reaffirm who they are to each other. Like, this is who we are. I picked you, and this is how we got together. These were the people we are. These are our main roles that we have to each other, and this reaffirms it. Having that date night is hugely important, and having date night then ironically just stops you ever having to go on dates with other people and cheat. So if you want to be someone that has that stronger relationship, that isn't just going to allow things to fall away, paying close attention to if you think you're deferring your responsibility, pay close attention to your own level of neediness, because one of the things that guys and girls do is they'll pick someone on a similar level of neediness to them. And if you're quite needy as a person, you've not addressed your inability to meet your own needs, to ask for what you want, you'll mate with a needy girl. And if she's needy, you're needy, this cycle will go so much faster. That track that you go on, you'll go for it, because if she's needy, she wants approval. And one of the easiest ways she can get that is by caring for you. And you just push each other down that road so much quicker, because You're needy, so you want her to look after you because you've decided that's a way of her expressing her interest and makes you feel safe, and you reward her for that, and then she gets rewarded for it, and it goes and goes and goes. Needy couples end up in this dynamic so much more frequently, and it's dangerous to do that, and it always ends in disaster. So avoiding that, taking your own responsibility for your own stuff, not just deferring everything because you don't really feel like it today. You know you could probably like drive the kids to school, but you're just deciding not to out of laziness. Well, that laziness creates a debt, and the debt is your inability to maintain your roles to each other. So don't fall into the trap of turning this girl into your mother, being the one that plays the video games and just allowing her to tidy up after you. This is what will turn a girl off. It will destroy the sexual tension in your relationship, and it will all begin to fall apart. However, none of this actually matters if you're watching this video and you're not in a relationship yet. I've highlighted the main way that guys fall down in finding a girl, and it's literally that. It's finding the girl. It's being able to have those interactions we used to have so frequently of just meet cutes going up to each other. We don't have that anymore, and we've relied on dating apps which only do you a disservice. So, if you want to get more effective at being able to meet girls, have the girlfriend, so you can avoid falling into this dynamic, check out this video here where I list the best ways that you can meet girls in 2024.